You know, the older the older I get, the more this is an issue that I think about. But you know, the end of life. On the one hand, I would want to experience. I do want to experience the end of my life. I know that it's coming now within a relatively short period of time compared to most of the rest of my life. You know, probably the next 10, 20, 30 years. Who knows? You know, knock on wood. But I think it would be a grand adventure that I'd like to experience. On the other hand, if I'm in excruciating pain and, you know, can barely deal with it, or, you know, just basically blithering from narcotics and you know, laying in a hospital room with a breathing tube or something, you know, I don't want that to be the way that I go out. I would like to go out with dignity, with, you know, quietly, on my own terms. I realize this is a really complex issue, a really tough decision. And, you know, Louise and I have talked about, you know, putting this into an advance directive. In fact, we have. And you know, that would be an option that we don't, you know, don't want heroic measures and all that kind of thing. A lot of people don't, you know, they get really, really sick and they don't have that kind of advance directive specifying what they want, how they want to end their lives, how they would deal with this. And as a result of that, they end up, you know, in the hospital, unconscious, on a ventilator for a month or two, and all they leave their family is $1 million in hospital bills. And the hospitals will go after your kids for that money, I guarantee you. So, you know, this was a hot issue years ago, back in the Terry Schiavo days. In fact, we were on the air back then. That was what, around 2006, I think, when George W. Bush hopped on a plane and as president and flew down to Florida to oversee Terry Schiavo. No, that was an execution, wasn't it? That he hopped on the plane to go oversee. Well, whatever. You know, this has been a hot issue for a while, and now it's kind of settled down. It's not national news. It's not, you know, a big issue. But if you look at the states, the only red state that allows death with dignity right now is Montana. And it was not even passed by their legislature or their citizens. It was passed by the Supreme Court, the Montana Supreme Court. There was a fellow who was dying. He wanted to have physician-assisted suicide. He wanted his doctor to help him leave this planet, and you know, he had to sue, and he sued repeatedly, in fact, and finally it went to the Montana Supreme Court, and the Montana Supreme Court said, yeah, our Constitution says that you have the right to leave this earth on your own terms when you are at the end of your natural life, you know, when you are going to die. So, fascinating stuff, and it's going to be real interesting to see how the hospice industry deals with this. This is an industry that's gone from being small, marginal, and nonprofit just 10 years ago to being a major for-profit, multi-billion-dollar industry in the United States in the last decade. And I'm guessing that they are probably fighting this pretty aggressively, although I haven't seen an official position from them.